All right. Welcome back. Were there any thoughts or questions that arose over the break time? Right. So we'll carry on. Final two meditations. We'll do a loving kindness meditation, and then we'll end with equalizing and exchanging self for other. All right. So try to adopt a comfortable position. That's upright. I think that I think about keeping your feet flat, your back straight, torso open, hands in the lap, right over left, with the palms upturned, the thumbs gently touching. Our eyes are gently closed or slightly open, making sure we let in enough light to remain alert. Try to maintain an awareness of not slouching, not leaning. Also let go of any unnecessary tension or rigidity in the body, relaxing into a stable, comfortable, upright position, just allowing the body to fall into place. And begin to again let go of attending to what's happening in your environment. Let go of any thoughts of the past, any plans for the future, concentrating your awareness in the present by attending closely to the physical sensation that accompanies the in breath and the out breath and the space around the opening of the nostrils. Noticing quickly when anything other than that one physical sensation is arising in the mind, and then without judgment or frustration, lifting your awareness up from those distractions, placing it gently but firmly again and again on the breath. And then once more, reassert your altruistic motivation, using this time to develop greater and greater familiarity with virtuous, constructive states of mind, turning away from non virtue, transforming the mind in order to become of greater and greater benefit to sentient beings over time. And then for a moment, return to attending to the breath, but attend to the full cycle of respiration through the body, following the inhalation and the exhalation all the way down and back up, staying with it in each moment as it changes. And then follow the next inhalation down to the level of the heart. Hold your awareness there, trying to feel as though your awareness begins to blossom from within the heart center. Not that one is looking down, but that one's subjective awareness dawns from within the heart center. And then bring to mind the image of someone close to you in your life, thinking of the ways in which you know that they wish to be happy. And imagine vividly that they are able to receive all forms of temporal as well as ultimate sources of happiness, contentment, fulfillment, deep satisfaction. Observing this, try to feel a sense of genuine delight, joy in their happiness. With this person you care about becoming truly blissfully happy, fully content. And focus on this subjective aspect of the mind that delights in their happiness. Try to imagine that this state of mind takes on the aspect of a warm energy flowing out of the heart center, like warm water flowing into a cold bath, spreading throughout the body and mind. Healing and transforming every part of the body and mind that it touches. Imagine it as a bright, white, luminous nectar filling the body and mind. Imagine oneself surrounded by all other sentient beings. Your mother in this life on your right, your father on your left, friends and loved ones behind, people who you find difficult in front, and strangers surrounding in all directions. Recognizing that just like oneself, all of these sentient beings wish to be happy, wish to be free of suffering. Imagine sending out this energy of loving kindness through every pore of your body. First, to your mother on the right, your father on the left, friends and loved ones behind, those who agitate you in front, and then going out in all directions, touching the crown of every sentient being, filling their own body and mind, carrying with it all of the forms of temporary and ultimate sources of happiness, contentment, deep satisfaction, providing all that sentient beings need to be truly happy. and feel strongly that you've brought all suffering in the universe to an end. And every other sentient being has realized their highest potential, and that all is transformed into a pure land. And rejoice in having been able to repay the kindness of mother sentient beings. And think that after having finished its work, that blissful energy flows back into you, and that all of the beings and their environment that you visualize, imagine it dissolving into empty space. A space like emptiness of primordial awareness. Imagine that you remain like a bubble of light floating within that empty space of awareness. And then gradually your own light body begins to dissolve, disappearing from the outside in toward the heart. And then think all that remains is the mind, single pointedly focused on your own ultimate nature. And then motivated to be of benefit to sentient beings, you once again generate the healing, blissful, radiant energy of loving kindness. And that light takes the form of your body and mind. And think that your old body and mind that were products of karma and affliction are gone forever. And that this body and mind is produced from wisdom and compassion. And that the purpose of this life, born from wisdom and compassion, is to bring happiness to all beings, to ease their suffering. So I think every action of my body, speech, and mind from this point forward is to benefit sentient beings. Absorb your mind in that determination. And then when you're ready, we'll come back together. And we'll take a 10-minute break. And we'll come back at 1:42. All right. Any thoughts or questions? So we'll conclude with equalizing and exchanging self for other. This is the other major way of cultivating bodhicitta specifically. There's a third way where those two are combined. There's what's called the 11 point meditation on bodhicitta, where aspects of the 7 point cause and effect and aspects of equalizing and exchanging self for other are actually combined into a single meditation. But I don't know if Venerable Sewang talked about that. I don't think it's really particularly included in this module, but it does. It is Lama Tsongkhapa created a sort of a hybrid of the two, but in general, it's just a way of combining these two. So generally, if you're going to cultivate bodhicitta, you do it either through the 7 point cause and effect, or you do it with equalizing and exchanging self for other. Often they will say that the 7 point cause and effect can be a little bit easier for some folks, because it taps into a very familiar way of thinking. It doesn't really transcend the idea of reciprocity in a way. It's we arrive at bodhicitta as the ultimate way of repaying sentient beings. So really, in that sense, it's a very familiar way of thinking. Like we've received so much, and so we want to repay that, and we repay it through bringing all sentient beings to enlightenment. It's what's different about it is that you generalize the the group that you're repaying. Normally you just think of that in a very narrow sense, like my friend, this one person, not this person, and so on. So with equanimity, you've generalized that to everyone, but it's not really um, what it what it doesn't what it doesn't specifically address is that kind of equanimity, um, that is the foundation of that practice. It doesn't specifically by itself address the primacy of oneself. That kind of equanimity is between other sentient beings, friend, enemy, and stranger. You're generating equal regard, but still you're kind of leaving intact, you putting yourself above even your closest friends, even your dearest loved ones. That kind of self-grasping and self-cherishing isn't directly um, addressed in the 7 point cause and effect meditation. With equalizing and exchanging self for other, we do approach it, or we do include this more direct way of attacking self-grasping and self-cherishing, within the context of the meditation itself. So it's a different, in that sense. Some people would say that it can be a more subtle or more difficult way of generating bodhicitta, because it it's coming at this more primal. It's easier in a way to have equal regard for just friend, enemy, and stranger than it is to actually replace self-grasping and self-cherishing with cherishing others. But so you can choose, which of the two to work with. But of course, they're both good, to be integrating, on different days, different times. Okay. So we'll move into that. So again, we take our meditation seat, adopting an upright posture. And again, we remind ourselves of our motivation. As we take a moment to calm the mind by focusing our attention on the breath. And once more, we generate that same preliminary foundation of equanimity, ridding the mind of bias, partiality, by recognizing that our tendency to categorize is simply the functioning of our ego. There's nothing inherent from the side of sentient beings that's meaningful, that leads us to categorizing them. It's just our own preference, our desire to be comfortable. From their side, they are simply a suffering sentient being who has a claim to be happy, to be free of that suffering that is equal to my own. And then we contemplate the kindness not only of a caregiver, but we contemplate the kindness of all sentient beings in a very broad way. In each of our lives, not only have we been cared for by an immediate caregiver, but in fact, every possession, every bite of food, every sip of clean water, every article of clothing or shelter living in relative safety, relative security, relative peace, is entirely dependent upon countless others. We are the beneficiaries of their effort, their energy, their hard work. Even all of our inner qualities have developed in dependence upon the field of sentient beings. Our ethics, our generosity, our kindness, our compassion require the field of sentient beings. Even those who have been difficult have provided us invaluable opportunities to practice patience. And we receive innumerable benefit from developing these good qualities, up to and including our own enlightenment. So think in that broader way about the kindness of others, using examples from your own life. And then allow the wish to repay that kindness to arise strongly in the mind. Wanting to do so in the best possible way, to bring them to a state of permanent peace. And then begin to recognize that when I think of myself, my interests, my goals, my desires, my preferences, this has incredible weight and importance in my life. But when I think of others, it has much less importance. Things that harm me are emergencies. Things that harm others are, at best, unfortunate. This is how we relate to the world through the lens of self cherishing. But recognize, too, that there is no difference between oneself and others. I deeply wish to be happy, to be free of even the slightest negativity. So, too, does every other sentient being. We are exactly the same in this way. Try to feel the truth of that deeply, viscerally. And begin to contemplate how every suffering that you have ever experienced, every suffering in the world, comes from the wish to obtain one's own happiness only. All conflict, all wars, all unhappiness comes from the self cherishing mind. Think of all of the negative karma created in this life and beginningless past lives due to following the mind of self-cherishing. All of the suffering that results from the ripening of that karma. There are no negative actions that are not fundamentally rooted in the self-cherishing mind. So to see the self-cherishing mind as the inner enemy, that which is to be transcended. And then think that all happiness in my life, in the world, comes from cherishing others. All of my own good qualities flow from such a mind. All of my most beneficial, constructive actions are the result of being able to cherish those around me. I think this is what is to be cultivated. And think in this life up until now, in my interactions, I've been motivated just to try to make things work out for myself. I've gone into every conversation, interaction, with the thought of what is in it for me. Try to imagine what it would be like to consider yourself a servant of sentient beings, going into every interaction, thinking what is in it for them. What do they need? How can I make this work out in their benefit? Try to think of ways that you can integrate that approach in your life. And then become aware of yourself in meditation and imagine that there's a dark seed, like a mustard seed, at the level of your heart. And then imagine in front of you as a group, two or three people who are experiencing difficulty, perhaps illness, oppression, some fear. And generate a strong wish to relieve them of that suffering. Imagine that that suffering takes the form of pollution, a dark cloud. And imagine that due to the force of your compassionate intention, that pollution begins to be drawn off, funneling toward oneself, funneling faster and faster. that dark cloud penetrates at the heart, absorbing into the dark seed. The dark seed becomes more and more dense. And all of that suffering is drawn off, then that dark seed implodes. And it's replaced by an orb, much larger orb of radiant golden white light. That same energy of loving kindness as before. And thinking that not only do these sentient beings need to be free of suffering, but they need to be installed in a state of perfect happiness. And think of sending out that energy toward them, bestowing them into that state, providing all forms of temporary as well as ultimate sources of satisfaction, contentment, bliss. And having considered the condition that all sentient beings are in, once again, generate the thought that it is unbearable, that sentient beings are so overwhelmed by suffering and are prevented from achieving the happiness that they wish. And it would be inappropriate for me to wait for someone else to come along and do something So even if by myself alone I will free every sentient being from suffering, I will place every sentient being in a state of perfect happiness. And then think that this pledge, this promise that I have made to all sentient beings can only be fulfilled when I myself achieve enlightenment. Presently, I am powerless to make good on this pledge, this promise, being under the control of karma and delusion myself, not having passed beyond suffering myself. So I must use this life to achieve my own enlightenment, which will give me the ability to perfectly lead all other sentient beings to their enlightenment. That way, give rise to the mind of Bodhichitta, a willingness to follow through in creating the causes and conditions in one's own mind to be able to actually fulfill this pledge. Seeing enlightenment as the only solution. And rest your mind in that single pointed determination. And then when you're ready, we'll come back together. And we'll conclude with some dedication prayers, which I'll screen share. So we think about all of our effort today and all of these contemplations. We can think too of participating in the module in general, all of the virtue of our efforts, dedicate all of that effort. Due to this virtue, may I quickly become a Guru Buddha and lead all transmigratory beings without exception to that state. May the precious supreme Bodhichitta that is not yet born arise and grow. May that which has arisen not decline, but increase more and more. The wish granting, wish fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chinrizik Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Savior of the land of snow, teachings in transmigratory beings, who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts or questions?
Thank you. That was beautiful. Really wonderful day. I really appreciate it.
Sure. All right. Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned something about a quiz at the beginning for this module. Is there a place you take that quiz, or
If you're in, so if you don't have to take the quiz, but if you wanted to get like officially certified in having done all of the parts of this module, then there is a quiz. And I'm happy to send that to you if that's something that you wanted to do.
okay?
But basically, I send it out and then it's technically closed book. You're meant to try to do it as best you can closed book, and then if you really struggle, you can refer back to your material, and people have a week. I'll send it out tonight and people have until the end of Sunday, next Sunday, to return it. So really, it's not some sort of big, because again, you can refer. You should really do your best not to try not to refer to, but really the purpose is for you to see what is the most essential things that I need to get out of this module. And then if I'm kind of missing some things, then you just know that maybe I should work on that a little bit more. But that's really the point.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Have a good rest of your day. We have a special event tomorrow. We have kind of an interfaith discussion with Reverend Rick for our Sunday class. It should be really interesting. It's one of Geshe-la's friends giving a talk at the center and online. And Elaine starts teaching next Sunday. So, and there's a retreat at the end of March with Elaine, and a workshop, a Saturday workshop as well in March. So that's all coming up. All right. Thanks so much. Have a good day.